A new rumor indicates that Marvel is spending $1 billion to make their Infinity Wars films. I'm Roth Cornett, and this is Screen Junkies News. Yesterday, the president of Pinewood Studios Atlanta, Dan Cathy, told the African American Film Critics Association that, quote, "We now have on the lot down there the largest film production ever with a $1 billion budget." Sure, he doesn't name Avengers Infinity War specifically, but what other film currently filming on their lot could cost that much? Well, that's the question. And here to discuss it with me is none other than Mr. J to the T to the E. I don't actually know your real name, sir.
Let's just say dollar bill, y'all.
Let's
talk about this budget.
Let's talk about it. First, we want to heavily caveat that this is not confirmed by Marvel or Disney, that this is something that was said in the context of a larger conversation that probably wasn't supposed to be said. And I have to imagine that our Mr. Dan Cathy is best friends with the Price Waterhouse accountant, and we now know who he was texting with at the Academy Awards. Like, he's got to be getting so many phone calls today.
I don't feel bad for that guy if he's best friends with this guy, because his life is amazing.
So Dan Cathy, just to give a little context, is the president of Pinewood Studios Atlanta. As we said, he's also the heir to the Chick-fil-A fortune. So that's who has started this rumor. Let's talk about, if this is true, where that money would be going to. So this is above the line production costs, reportedly. So which could include screenwriters, directors, producers, principal actors, and all physical production. Now, the cost for the actors alone, there was a rumor last year, I think, that Robert Downey Jr. alone was going to get $200 million for the two films. Now, and again, to clarify, there's Infinity War, and then there's the second film, which is no longer Infinity War Part 2.
It's just
Avengers 4.
Sequel, yeah.
The sequel. So probably the $1 billion is for both of those films.
I would imagine so. If this turned out to be for one film, I would be beyond excited I am already. Like, the Earth should just turn into a transformer halfway through the movie. Like, what would that budget do? That's insane. It's got to be for both films. And like you said, for the actors, I mean, how many characters are going to be in this movie? Is anybody going to be left out?
Well, what's funny is that they had basically listed as participating in the film is pretty much every single member of the Marvel universe. And I think either everyone is in, one if not the other, or it's just kind of a bait and switch where they're listing everyone so we can't figure out who's in it and who's not.
And they'll also probably be introducing new characters. Is this going to be Captain Marvel's?
Captain Marvel's introduction.
That's a huge character to be coming out. And Brie Larson probably got a good payday. She just came off her Oscar. So like everybody you know and love in this series is going to be there. And that cannot be cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to cost some money.
So let's get into a little bit of numbers. All right. So that, again, would be probably for physical production and maybe for actor costs, so we don't know. Again, reportedly, Robert Downey Jr. gets 50% of the actor's budget. Heavily, we don't know for that for sure. But this would not include the cost of marketing, print and advertising. That would probably take it up another 50% to $750,000 each, or $1.5 billion total. But it also doesn't include the tax rebate that they're going to get from Atlanta, which is about 30%.
Wow, that's huge.
So the total cost potentially for two films is $1.2 billion. There's a ton of money.
I mean, I'm not worried whatsoever for Marvel, though.
No, neither
this
am
is
I.
literally, it's an open check. They're going to print it. These things are going to make, I mean, most Marvel standalone films make close to $1 billion by themselves, at least $500,000. The Avengers movies make over $1 billion. This is going to be unprecedented. I can't think of any other franchise or film. I mean, Fast and Furious in a way, because you have all these characters coming together, but the scale that this thing's going to be on and seeing all those actors together, I think it's going to be unprecedented. It's going to be bigger than, I think it will easily be the biggest Marvel film ever.
Well, so let's talk about this, because when you just hear that number, it sounds like, okay, the world's on fire, cats and dogs living together, chaos. But that's really not true from the studio's perspective, and here's why. So in order to make their costs back for each film, they would have to make upwards of $750 million, because the theaters, worldwide theatrical sales alone, because the theaters will take a cut of the ticket sales, right?
Easy.
But still, Avengers, which had a total budget, including print and advertising and the production budget, of $337 million, made $1.5 billion. So they're fine. Ultron, which had $337 $75 million budget grossed $1.4 billion. So, and Iron Man 3, which had a $300 million combined budget of production and marketing, had $300 million, grossed $1.2 billion. Aren't numbers fun? Math is fun. These two films, I think, are guaranteed, almost guaranteed to pull in at least $1 billion each. So that's $2 billion, if not above, 1.5 billion, 300 billion. $3 billion each. I'm just saying letters and numbers right now. They don't actually make sense.
I mean, altogether, this thing could easily bring in $4 billion. Yeah. Just from box office, because I think it could do that well. And the fact that every Marvel film that comes out is a hit.
Yeah.
They had one misstep. They had one movie that just failed with audiences. It'd be a little chink in the armor. I'd be like, oh, I'm a little worried.
Yeah.
But no, everything they do is a hit. So every single hit before this movie is just making that gross that much bigger. Right. It's a home run. It's a foolproof plan for Marvel.
If it follows the model of the Avengers, we're looking at roughly $3 billion, not $300 billion, which would be unprecedented and amazing. Insane. That's when we actually open it in the theaters galactically. That's when it makes $300 billion. $3 billion, which is a lot of money, but that's not all, folks. And this is why I'm not at all worried for Marvel, and why I think that this rumor is probably nearing the truth of how much money they're willing to spend on this film. They're shooting in IMAX with new cameras. They're probably getting some money from IMAX just to do that. Plus, they're using innovative new cameras. But B, none of this includes merchandising. And that's where the real money is. So Avengers, just on merchandising, made another $1 billion. This is according to Variety, who also theorized that with the inclusion of Spider-Man, they would go ahead and make another $1 billion. Now, even if they're splitting that money with Sony for the merchandising using Spider-Man, that's still an additional $500 million of potential merchandising sales with just Spider-Man. Now, riddle me this. How many versions of toys and t-shirts are you going to get out of just the sheer number of characters in Infinity War? You're going to have Baby Groot riding on the shoulder of Tony Stark in one package. You're going to have him with Cap in another. There's plushie toys to be made here, people. There's action figures. There's high-level models. There's 2 million ways to make merchandising cash off of this movie with all of these characters.
They just announced a video game, an Avengers video game. That alone will make them $1 billion.
Yeah.
The video game industry is huge right now. That one game is just another $1 billion to add to the process. It's by the end of these movies, it's going to be United States of Disney. Yeah. I don't think we're going to be America anymore. I think Disney is going to rule this whole country because Star Wars and Marvel, they have all the money. They have all the money.
Well, and not only that, but you're looking at, in a way, like if you look at what Transformers model is, because the toys, again, the merchandising, that is where they make so much of their money, right? If you look at these movies almost as an advertisement, which they're not, I think they're going to be great movies, but just for that merchandising money, it's still worth it. It's still ultimately worth it.
I mean, all the deals are going to cut with, like, who knows, Taco Bell, Burger King. There's going to be there's going to be a Thor burrito. Everything you can think of is going to be tied into this movie. They're going to hit that advertising so hard.
And the weird thing about the Thor burrito is that you actually get abs after you eat that burrito.
Oh my God.
That's the weird thing.
I'm going to look like Ryan Reynolds by the end of this year. It's going to be amazing.
All right, JT, let's look at really quickly some of the films that have cost a huge ton of cash in the past. Avatar obviously previously had the highest budget of $425 million. But with marketing costs, that brought it to $637 million. It's also the highest grossing film of all time.
Yeah,
so that's
convenient.
It worked out. It worked out for Avatar. Do we think that there is a correlation between investing this much money and yielding those results?
It's weird for me because Avatar, isn't it all done in computer? I mean, like, how many hard drives they got going? Like, why does that cost so much money?
So much electricity.
Is it all electricity?
Bill is bonkers.
Is that what it is? Because that's insane to me. Like, at least I feel like with these movies, they're building sets. And Avatar, you don't even have that many actors, really.
No, but the thing is, okay, let's get, in all seriousness, they took us, I remember when the DVD for Avatar was released, they took us through something called Avatar Day, where they brought us to the studio where they filmed it and let us shoot with the simulcam, and they took us through every aspect of that production, and you have to understand the intense. He was inventing technologies.
Yeah,
and
I
they
think
were
okay.
as they were going, and the cost of post-production sometimes is much higher, and that's where people screw up when they're independent filmmakers too. They spend all of their money on production. They don't leave enough for post, and post in truth can cost just as much, as not more, as physical production.
Okay, so a lot of that money just went to people working on computers.
It was
basically
upset people with no lives working on
Yeah,
computers.
that's a good point. Guys, if you're in college right now, go learn computers, learn how to animate.
No,
so I
because
feel like
now
there's
they're-
6 avatars coming out. You could pay your way through.
That was true 6 years ago,
No.
but unfortunately, a lot of that is now being outsourced.
What?
So you're going to be screwed and out of a job like many of my friends were.
No. Okay.
Our basic message is make toys.
Make
what
toys.
you want to
Okay.
do
That works better.
is make movies that make toys and get a cut of those. Okay, great. So again, this is heavily a rumor. I kind of think probably this was a slip, that he said something that he really shouldn't have.
Yeah.
He revealed something he shouldn't have. Again, we don't know exactly what that money would be going towards. It could cost more or less in physical production. Certainly, marketing will be an additional cost in those movies. What do you think the final would be?
Oh man, I don't know. These numbers, I just feel like are getting out of control overall. Like, I honestly don't know. I couldn't tell you how much it could make or how much it's going to cost in the end.
All right,
I feel
well-
like they're keeping it tight to the chest, which is smart because you don't want to have this cloud over you saying we have to make this much money.
Yeah.
You don't want to have to worry about that, and people are going to be judging you. There's news articles every day saying, "Oh, they're not making enough money. They're spending too much money." Keep it close to the chest. Don't let anybody know until the movie comes out.
All right. Well, again, this is for 2 movies. Previous to that, The Hobbit, $745 million before tax rebates for the 3 Hobbit movies.
Well, they did well though. I mean, I feel like when you make these movies of this scale and epicness, it's kind of like safe proof because people are going to go see it just from the trailers. It looks so interesting, it looks so entertaining. Even if the movie fails to be as good, and I think Transformers is a perfect example of this. I think people see those Transformers commercials and go, "This looks so awesome. I got to go see this." And it's kind of foolproof. I wish the Transformers movies wouldn't do so good so they could reboot the whole thing, but it looks like if you put the money into the movie, you're going to get the results for the most part.
All right, guys. That's what we think, but we want to know what you think. Is this way too much money to spend on 2 films? Let us know in the comments below, and thank you for watching. Please click here for more wonderful internets, and make sure to subscribe to Screen Junkies News. Thank you, JTE.
High five.